kids, they gone. Oh, he took it. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Thank you to all my supporters who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commenting down below. Appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Yeah, I know what we do. Seek the truth.
What is a fact from history that seems too dark to be true? How about the fact that one night in the 1940s, every baby born inside of one Memphis hospital was stolen? This is coming from a Heart Starts Pounding episode, but one night, a 21-year-old named Jesse Henderson gave birth to a child in John Gaston Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And afterwards, a nurse comes in and says, "I'm so sorry, but your baby has passed away." The nurse doesn't tell Josie how the baby died, but she says, "You need to go to reception and they'll get everything sorted for you." So Josie's walking down the hallway, and as she is, she sees another woman out there crying who was also told that her baby just died. And then she sees another woman who's crying and was also told that the baby she just gave birth to had died. All in all, there were about 7 women in the hallway that had all been told that their babies had died. And Josie starts thinking that this is kind of weird. And Josie didn't know it yet, but every baby born in the hospital that night was stolen by this woman, Georgia Tan. Georgia was a social worker and she was friends with everybody at the hospital, and her dad was a judge, and she basically came up with this sort of kickback program. She basically told the nurses that if they took all the newborn babies and gave them to Georgia and told the mothers that they died, she would be able to sell them to adoptive parents and she would give them a little bit of the money that she earned. And I know it sounds absolutely unfathomable, but Georgia did this to 5,000 children, and I basically did a 2-part series on her for the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, and you can start listening to this episode. She said she was a social worker and then children started disappearing.
So she was selling kids for money, bro, and the nurses were in on it. It's a whole like a freaking pyramid scheme, bro. What the hell? Imagine thinking your kid gone, find out years later somebody adopted him. This world is crazy.
Did you guys know that Britney Drexler's body has been found after 13 years? On April 25th, 2009, 17-year-old Britney Drexel went missing while visiting Myrtle Beach for spring break with some friends. Britney lived in New York, and her mother didn't give her permission to travel to Myrtle Beach because she feared something would happen to her. But Britney went anyway. Later that day, on the 25th, Britney walked to her friend's hotel that was a few miles away, but as she made her way back, she suddenly disappeared. The last message that she sent to her boyfriend John, who was in New York, was at 8:58 p.m. and when she stopped responding, he contacted Britney's mother. 62-year-old sex offender Raymond Moody became a person of interest, but he was never charged until now. It wasn't until recently that detectives developed information they needed to make an arrest, and that's when he finally confessed and led investigators to the woods where he buried Britney. 13 years later, on May 11th, 2022, Britney's remains were found in a wooded area in Georgetown, South Carolina. Raymond kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Britney the same day she went missing. He is now eligible for the death sentence, and he was charged with murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual misconduct.
The mom, she knew, but she had that gut feeling.
These are some of the most terrifying illnesses that you could get tomorrow. And I found all these on Reddit.
Of course, man. Reddit. Dang, we didn't even find out what they were. I gotta find that for you guys. Just spinning around.
But if Swang has seen who you are, the only way to save yourself is by watching the whole video, clicking the plus, dropping a like, and tagging a friend. Good luck, my friends. Swang is actually an umbrella name for a various shape-shifting monster. It's extremely evil. It's very well known in Filipino folklore. Swang is a shape-shifting monster that devours unborn babies. And there's only one way to spot one during the daytime, and that is to see the reflection in its eyes, and if it's upside down, I'd run. It's said that there's a way to become one if you choose to, and here's how. Take a fertilized chicken egg and tie it to your stomach. Once the chick passes into their flesh. Must bury the shell in a bamboo tube, fill it with coconut oil and chicken dung, or poop. Then it said that they will possess these same exact powers as that swang. My question to you guys is, would you try that?
Another 40-year-old cold case has been solved thanks to DNA. 15-year-old Karen Stitt was last seen alive on September 2nd, 1982, when she parted ways with her boyfriend at a bus stop in Sunnyvale, California. The next morning, Karen's body was found behind a blood-stained cinder block wall. She had been essayed and stabbed over 50 times. But despite the killer leaving both his blood and bodily fluid on Karen's body, the case went cold and remained that way for 35 years. In 2019, Sunnyvale DPS detective Matt Hutchinson followed up on a tip that determined Karen's killer was allegedly one of 4 brothers from Fresno, California. Thanks to a grant awarded to the prosecutor's office by the U.S. Department of Justice, the investigation into this person continued. And in April 2022, 78-year-old Hawaii man Gary Ramirez was identified as the likely source of blood and bodily fluid left at the crime scene. Ramirez, who was formerly a resident of Fresno, California, and had served in the U.S. Air Force, was living in Maui, Hawaii in 2022 when he was arrested. He was officially charged with Karen Stitt's murder and pleaded no contest to the charges. And now he has been sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years, when he will be 103 years old. So he will be spending the rest of his life in prison. It may have taken 4 decades, but Karen has finally gotten justice. According to the DA's office, Karen Stitt's family members attended the sentencing hearing. The DA said, quote, "Over 40 years ago, Karen Stitt lost her life, but she was not forgotten. Today, thanks to a dedicated detective, a persistent prosecutor, and our crime lab, the person responsible is behind bars. Rest in peace, Karen."
Karma could come up and get you. It took 40 years.
What is going on with this apartment? I'm going to show you the stain that's behind me because this is what's raising a lot of eyebrows. This very distinct discoloration on the carpet, accompanied with this horrific smell, so says the original poster. It trailed this all over the building too. I mean, there are scuffs all through the walls, all down the carpeting up the stairs. I kept looking at it and it looks like a cleanup job, and it's really difficult to say like what this could have been. The thing that's just so persistent about it is this person's like, I've never smelled anything like this in my life. So they actually stuck around and they watched to see who left the apartment. Made it all the way outside following this person. This is who they saw leaving that building. You think this is worth calling the police over? And if you're looking for additional creepy content, make sure to check it out on the show.
This couple drove their whole family off of a cliff. 38-year-old Jennifer and Sarah Hart were originally from South Dakota, but started a relationship while they were studying at the Northern State University. The couple had adopted 6 children from Texas. The first part of the group was from 2006, and the second part of the group was from 2008, and later they got married in Connecticut in 2009. The children had been removed from their biological families due to neglect and abuse, but it seems like that was still going to follow them into their new home. From the outside looking in, it seemed like this family was a very loving family, but behind closed doors, it was completely different. Teachers and social workers noted bruising, food deprivation, and emotional neglect, and as soon as this was noted, Jennifer and Sarah took the kids out of school and they became homeschooled. In 2010, Sarah pled guilty to assault after one of the children's head was pushed under the water as a form of punishment because they believed that she had stole a penny from them. Despite all the evidence there was about how badly these children were being cared for, CPS failed to protect these children. By 2017, neighbors came forward that the children would run over to their home pleading for food and asking for help, and eventually they reported this to CPS. Just days before tragedy, social workers tried to get in contact with Jennifer and Sarah, but they were unable to reach them. On March 26 of 2018, Jennifer drove the family's GMC Yukon off a 100-foot cliff along the California State Route 1 in Mendocino County. 5 of the children's bodies were found in or near the vehicle, while 1 was never recovered. Evidence confirms that the crash was intentional and Jennifer's blood alcohol level was above the legal limit, and there was a cold medicine found in the system of Sarah and 2 children. Tragically, all of those children lost their life that day, as well as...
They hitting the jets, they gone. He took it. How the heck did that? Bro, they was hitting the jets, man. I don't know how they got the freaking door open. Freaking slid it open, bro. All of them escaped, man. There was like 16 of them, too. I wonder, man, did they get caught, bro? Some of them had to get caught, man. I know all of them ain't make it. Insane, bro.
This is the world's most haunted doll, said to be so haunted that if you take a picture or a video of him without his permission, you'll be cursed. Also stated by many people to be 10 times more dangerous than the Annabelle doll. Robert's story is weird, but here it is. Back in the 1970s, a young boy named Eugene Otto was given Robert the doll by his grandfather. Once these two met, they were completely inseparable, doing absolutely everything together, as a child and his toy usually do. Up until one night, where Eugene can remember going to sleep with Robert, but waking up in the middle of the night to some really weird noises coming from across his room. When he finally got up and checked it out, it was Robert. He was standing by himself, just looking at Eugene. After that, Eugene and the family decided that they were going to put Robert up in the attic, and it is said that Robert stayed there for years, but every single night around the same time, they would hear rustling and scraping and almost a running sound on the attic, meaning that Robert must have been running around up there. Which, as we know, is almost impossible for a doll to do, so it has to be possessed. The other damning piece of evidence is that neighbors have said that when they came home, they have seen Robert inside of the attic looking out the attic window, which is just mind-blowing. Robert currently sits at the Martellus Museum in Key West, Florida, and of course the protective spirit box.
I ain't going this dead, bro. Who actually want to go look at that doll, man? It's haunted. I don't need that energy in my life.
This may be one of the scariest urban legends I've ever heard that actually turned out to be true. So during the 1970s, there was a terrifying funhouse in Long Beach, California called the Laugh in the Dark. And this urban legend began circulating that all the mannequins inside were fake except for one. Something about this mannequin just seemed wrong. All the others looked fake, but this one in particular, they say it looked a little too human. A bunch of kids even said the area around the mannequin had a terrible smell. This next part is where I pooped my pants. So a few years go by, and then one day a TV crew comes to use Laugh in the Dark as one of their filming locations. The director is trying to line up the perfect shot, but he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looked on camera. So he asks one of the crew members to move it out of the way. So the crew member goes over, starts moving the mannequin, when the arm completely falls off. Inside the mannequin's arm is human bone. The kids were right all along. The mannequin was a mummified corpse.
Listen to the kids, bro.
Urban Legends That Ended Up Being Real, Part 23. Tombstone Thunderbird. It is said to be spotted in Tombstone, Arizona. It's a huge bird with a wingspan that stretches over 20 feet long, and it comes out during storms. The most well-known account comes from 1890 when two ranchers in Tombstone claimed to have encountered and killed a creature matching the Thunderbird's description. The massive bird attacked their livestock, forcing them to shoot it down. They described it as having leathery, bat-like wings and looked more like a dinosaur than a bird. The men dragged the bird back to town, where a photograph of them standing with the massive creature was taken. This photo has become one of the greatest mysteries of the legend. And in 1977, a family in Lawndale, Illinois claimed that a thunderbird attacked their young son while he was out playing in the yard. The bird tried to carry the boy away before being scared off by the family. And the most recent sighting comes from 2020 when a group of campers in the forests of Pennsylvania claimed to see a shadow pass over their campsite, blocking out the moonlight. But when they looked up, they described a bird so large it seemed to glide silently across the sky, and its wings created a whooshing sound as it disappeared.
Let's talk about the black-eyed children. According to legend, black-eyed children usually come to your house at night. They'll come to your vehicle if you're alone in the parking lot or places where there aren't many people.
If you guys see this video, take a look at how nice.
It disappears as soon as she pans the camera back. They usually tell you that they need help with something, or maybe that they're lost, but the main thing is they want to be let in to wherever you are. They'll try and say anything to get inside, and if you tell them no, they'll start to get a little aggressive, being persistent, saying things like, "You must let me in, I need to be let in." They'll become extremely desperate, and if you decide to let them in, wait, before I continue, your third act comes to your door with black eyes. Let me know who it is, and would you let them in? You see, black-eyed children are dark entities, and just like vampires, they're not allowed in without permission. If you let them in, they will do unspeakable things.
The black-eyed children, man. That video where we saw that those two women, man, in the pool, and that girl, saw it just quickly pan by on the camera. And you seen it in 4K. What do you guys think?
Horror movie villains who could be easily avoided if you're not an idiot, part 2. Annabelle. If I were to obtain a doll where all of a sudden I put it in my bedroom, I wake up the next morning and it's in my living room drawing on the walls with crayon, it's gone. I'm not talking to it, I'm not hiring anybody to talk to it, nothing's moving inside of it. The doll is just gone. You then have Chauncey the bear. Now you gotta do a lot of steps in order to see Chauncey in his normal form. This giant, terrifying bear. Because normally he's just a little teddy bear. Therefore, I'm never going to the never ever. It's never ever happening. You then have Ghostface. This one may be a little bit harder. Just don't be mean to people. Most of the time when people in the Scream franchise are getting packed up, they're a part of a friend group. Sometimes they're the outcasts of the friend group. They do weird things. Thankfully, I'm not involved in anything like that. But yes, this might be the hardest one. You then got my boy Chucky. Well, I actually just rewatched the original Chucky, and I'm not gonna lie, the premise is crazy. It's an unaliver who ends up transporting his body into the Chucky doll. Now hear me out though. If I had a kid and they were like, Dad, I want a doll that talks, then all of a sudden, as soon as it starts talking, you can hear the voices a little bit different than on TV, especially because you got it in an alleyway. You never bought it from the store. The doll is haunted and it's gotta go. I'm immediately throwing it in the fire. Like and follow if I should do a part 3.
DeVar J. DJ Daniel, a 13-year-old battling terminal brain cancer, has been sworn in as an honorary Border Patrol agent and ICE officer. The U.S. Border Patrol welcomed DJ, writing, DJ is an unstoppable force and a true inspiration. We know he will exemplify our motto of honor first. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement shared, DJ's determination is an inspiration to all of us, and we're honored to welcome him to our team. This follows just months after DJ was made an honorary Secret Service agent during President Trump's congressional address.
To officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
DJ has already been sworn in by over 1,100 law enforcement agencies, surpassing his goal of 1,000.
Good for him. On that night strip.
Have you ever come across one of these while walking on a railroad track? Chances are you have no idea what that is, which makes sense as they've been obsolete for quite some time. That device is a railway torpedo which was invented in 1841. It's a simple small dynamite charge wrapped in red paper and strapped to the rail using lead strips. The weight of the engine would detonate the charge, which signaled to the operator that he needed to start slowing down. An incredibly helpful invention, but as with any explosive, they pose their own risks, especially with curious children. In 1943, 11-year-old J.J. Arms stole a couple of these from a railway company. He mistakenly rubbed two of them together, causing them to explode and mangling both of his hands. Despite both of his hands requiring amputation and fitted with prosthetics, he went on to appear in 39 movies, 28 TV shows, started his own private investigation agency, and had his own line of toys in 1976. That don't mean go out and play with explosives and lose your hands.
Diddy's criminal trial in New York began this week, and there's a lot that has happened here to get to this point, so here is a very brief overview of who Diddy is and how we got here. Sean Combs, known as P. Diddy or Diddy, started out as a producer and record label exec. His label, Bad Boy Records, represented tons of big artists over the years, including Biggie Smalls. When Biggie was murdered in 1997, Diddy himself became one of the record's biggest artists, producing music over the years. In 2022 and 2023, he was given Lifetime Achievement Awards at the BET Awards and the VMAs. He released a new album in September 2023, and then in November, he was nominated for a Grammy for that album. But less than a week later, a first lawsuit was filed against Combs. Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend, accused him of years of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in a civil suit filed against him. And that was just the beginning of Combs' legal problems. Now he is facing dozens of civil lawsuits, with many accusers saying they were essayed after being drugged at one of Combs' lavish parties. In September 2024, Combs was arrested on federal charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. and now he is on trial for those charges. In April 2024, he was indicted for sexually trafficking 3 women, controlling them via physical and emotional abuse, including supplying them with drugs to keep them quiet and paying them to keep quiet, all in a 20-year span between 2004 and 2024. The indictment also describes Combs's alleged freak-offs, which were elaborately planned, staged, and often videotaped parties where sex and drug use was going on. The indictment accuses Combs of having, quote, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. At his trial, prosecutors arguing Combs's case alleged that he used his business empire to fuel and conceal his criminal activities, and that he used his money, power, and influence to reach criminal ends. Combs's trial began this week and is expected to last 8 to 10 weeks, and the trial testimony began with Cassie Ventura on the witness stand. Cassie's civil suit from 2023 was settled for $20 million the day after it was filed, but now she is testifying in Combs's criminal trial. And today is her 5th day of testimony and is expected to be the last. So I will do a recap once that's done.
Hey man, that Diddy case, bro. The truth will come to light, man.
Y'all, after 18 years, the Madeline McCann case might finally be solved, y'all. And here's why. They found a bunker full of information, bikes, toys, and GUNS in relation to this case and the man that has something to do with taking her. This is so scary and creepy, and another reason why you gotta keep your kids right up next to you. This is where they found all the information at, and the man that they have found that had all this information is already in prison for unrelated crime, which is related to SA of another person. Y'all, this right here is probably where Madeline was taken to and lured, because he had toys, he had bikes, he had balls, he had everything that a child would probably want, candy, all kinds of stuff that would probably lure this little girl to where he took her, and allegedly has confessed to SAing a blonde 4-year-old little girl for multiple days. There was a hard drive found at the home of Christian Bruckner, and he is now considered to be the prime suspect in the Madeline McCann investigation. And there is evidence to say that she is probably unalived. Now, they're saying that the material was never previously made public, and this is all brand new, and he's obsessed with young children. It says right here, the items discovered at his abandoned home, a disused factory he bought for $20,000 in 2008, were children's clothes, toys, masks, chemicals, and pew-pews. I mean, look at him. He even looked like he did something like this. This is him right here, and he is currently in prison for the SA of a woman. This woman had claimed that she was Madeline McCann. This is not Madeline McCann. So this proves that this woman was lying about the whole situation. She is not Madeline McCann. There was also an insurance claim signed by Bruckner revealing that he had been involved in a crash at a festival. And basically all this information came out after that. They said that his involvement in the case, and police believe the material may indicate that Madeline is unalive. So unfortunately, she's probably gone and has been gone for a very long time. And then someone else said that they met Madeline McCann suspect on a site used by, and that there were images on there that linked him to the investigation and searches of children between the age of 4 and 5. And there were more than 75 children's swimming suits, as well as toys and small bikes. This is extremely creepy.
She hit the nail.
Objects that actually exist. The Hands Resist Him painting, painted by Bill Stoneham, is considered one of the most haunted pieces of art. Every person who has ever owned this painting shares the same story. They claim that once nightfall hits, the figures in the painting would either move or disappear completely. People also claim that even seeing the painting immediately makes them feel sick and weak. If this isn't scary enough, the owner of the first art gallery to ever show the painting, as well as the art critic who reviewed it, both died within 1 year of seeing it.
That's definitely some cursed energy.
Facts that you didn't know. Skittles is the candy that is bought the most on Halloween. A man once carved a pumpkin in 16.4 seconds, and it's a world record. I bet you didn't know that trick-or-treating has existed since the medieval times. Halloween brings in the second most amount of money among all holidays besides Christmas. And finally, a city in Canada made it illegal for kids 16 years and older to trick-or-treat.
No more candy for you, bro. They said grow up.
Facts you wish I never told you, part 7. Meerkats murder the babies of their rivals. You can't hear anything in space.
There's 6 million skeletons under Paris.
Ooh.
Nutmeg is no hallucinogen.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This map shows the household incomes that are needed to feel comfortable living in each U.S. state. This map shows the number of cities that each U.S. state has with a population over 100,000 people. This map shows the major regions of where all of the zip codes are, with each number being the first number in your zip code. This map shows the obesity rates by country from just a couple of years ago, with China being in the green of under 10% and the United States being in the red of over 40%. This is a map of Italy that shows where the mafia is the most active, with the red areas being the highest.
Stay away for that.
Alaska is actually more central to the world than you would believe, and this is showing all the average flight times to major cities around the world. This map shows the strange distribution of where crested porcupines come from. How did they come from both sides of the Sahara Desert? This map shows where all the deserts are around the world. This map shows where all the vault locations are in the Fallout series.
Here are some facts you didn't know.
Interesting.
In 1559, King Henry II of France was participating in a jousting tournament. During a match, he was severely wounded in the eye and brain by a splintered lance. He died of his injuries 10 days later, with his death leading to the decline of jousting as a sport in France. Actress and Playboy centerfold Yvette Vickers was last seen in 2010 after withdrawing from her family and friends. When neighbor Susan Savage noticed cobwebs on the mailbox, she went inside to investigate. Upstairs, she discovered her mummified body. Lieutenant Colonel William Henry Rankin is one of only 2 known persons to survive falling from the top of a cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud. He was forced to eject from his jet when his engine failed. It took him 40 minutes to finally reach the ground. During his descent, he suffered from frostbite, and severe decompression caused his mouth, eyes, ears, and nose to bleed.
Could you guys even imagine having to eject from the plane and you just like free falling? Like 30 minutes and have to experience all that? What's going on in your head as you're descending down? It's a brave man right there.
I mean, if Neuralink wasn't already scary enough, Elon Musk has just said that they are now working on the ability to help people that have lost limbs by attaching parts of their Optimus robot to their body and then using the Neuralink chip to control them. The company recently implanted their second patient with the chip, and in their most recent update on his recovery, Elon said, if all goes well, there will be hundreds of people with Neuralinks within a few years, maybe tens of thousands within 5, and millions of people within 10 years. I mean, we joked about people's chips getting hacked before, when it was just their brain, but now, throw in their arms and legs too? Hollywood, how about we stop making sequels to everything, and someone make a movie about that?
This high school
They really want to freaking bring like our robot into reality, man. I know that Will Smith movie. It seems like that's the road we going down, man. Neuralink. I stay away from that completely. I ain't getting no chip putting in my brain. No, thank you.
Resource officer was caught having a relationship with a 15-year-old girl. The girl only came forward when she was 19 after she spoke to a therapist of what had happened. This all began in 2019 when 34-year-old officer Christian Lanon got a hold of this girl's number and then used that information to find her on Snapchat. He then used his power to reach out to her, forming a relationship and then eventually essaying her in his car and his house multiple times. He told the girl that if she ever told anyone, they wouldn't believe her and they would all be on his side. Finally, in 2023, she went to police and they arranged a phone call between the girl and Christian where she brought up the relationship and everything they've done, and he unknowingly cooperated. His confession on the phone incriminated him, and that was all they needed to arrest him. But what was really weird is that when he spoke to investigators, he argued that he thought the girl was 16, and that meant she was of legal age to consent, which shows that this officer doesn't even know the law.
So I'm sure you all remember back in 2016 when the whole clown situation happened, and it was, a bit terrifying to say the least. You're easily scared. Do not watch this. These two stories happened on the same day in the same neighborhood back in 2016. So a young boy was home alone for the evening as his parents went out for a meal, and down the road a young girl was babysitting another child whose parents went out. Well, why was everyone's parents out that night? Jesus.
Now, the young boy was just sat in bed, playing some video games, watching TV, and then eventually tried to get some sleep. Until he heard a load of banging coming from outside the window. When he looked out the window, he saw this standing at the end of his driveway. Then he looked out the other window and saw this at the other side of his house. And then this at his actual window. Nah. He called the police, they came, but the men had already run off. Now over to the babysitter on the other side of the road. This was about 10 minutes afterwards. There was a creepy looking clown statue just sat in the middle of the lounge after she put the child to bed. She called the dad and said, "I didn't realise you liked clowns, it's creeping me out, do you mind if I move it?" And he said, "There is no clown statue." She looked out the window and again saw two men standing there, staring in. She quickly called the police, pressed 5, dropped the phone and hid upstairs. Eventually the police came, arrested the men, but there was actually one inside the house. She said, "Where was he?" And they said, "He was hiding underneath the child's bed."
Whoa.
May.
The scary truth.
I remember that scary clown, like, freaking time, man. I remember, everybody was dressing up as it, but some people, like you said, obviously we've seen these clips, man, they were taking it way too far. You actually went to a person's house, man? Hiding in their bed at that? Nah. Those scary clowns. I'm just glad that trend is over.
Truth about Santa Claus. But dude, this is all in one part, so make sure you double tap this video. His mom told her kid to stay in bed. It was Christmas Eve. The boy didn't listen. He really wanted to see Santa Claus. It said that Santa Claus actually kidnapped the kid for not listening to his mom. To this day, nobody knows where he is.
Santa Claus, Dark Origins.
Crazy things happening in the world right now that you will seriously not believe. This tiny water creature was frozen 24,000 years ago, and it has just been brought back to life. This means we're actually a stage closer to bringing people back from the dead, meaning people that have been cryogenically frozen will be able to come back to life in the near future. Next, scientists have identified 29 habitable planets which aliens could be observing us from. This is that they are close enough that they could be observing us right now, and close enough to intercept our radio and TV waves, meaning they'd be able to hear broadcasts and all that kind of thing. Could they be out there? Finally, construction is set to start in the next couple of years for this space hotel. It is called the Voyager Station, and they already have their website up available for booking now. It's set to open in 2027 with hotel rooms, gyms, swimming pools, and so much more. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to stay here.
Nah, I don't think I could. Y'all tell me down below if you could stay up there. Not me. They made 2 video freaking... Didn't they make a movie on that? What happened? And they didn't end well?
These are disturbing Disney World facts. Up first, Disney's first water park called River Country closed permanently in 2001 after a crazy reason. An 11-year-old boy died from a brain-eating parasite he got in the water at the park. The park is still there, completely abandoned to this day.
Ooh.
Next up, the actor who used to play Gaston at Disney World Orlando accidentally killed himself by attempting to shoot fireworks off of his head. Next up, Disney World is one of the most popular places on Earth where people scatter the ashes of dead people. It actually happens so often that the employees have a special code to use to report it for cleanup. Finally, in 2010, a restaurant manager at Disneyland Paris took his own life one day after working a shift. But before doing so, he left a note on the wall that translated to, "I don't want to go back to Mickey ever again."
If you ever see a faceless man in your dreams, you need to run fast. Believe it or not, your brain cannot actually make up faces. So any face you see in a dream is actually real and someone you've seen before. Even the most terrifying ones you've seen in your dream are actually real and you've seen them somewhere in real life. You just can't necessarily remember it. However, if you see someone with no face in a dream, this is a different story. These faceless people are often referred to as the faceless visitors, are actually demons who are visiting your dreams. Your brain physically can't make up faces. These faceless visitors who are actually demons come to visit your dreams, and sometimes worse.
Now that I've seen it, I
Okay, stay away from the faceless demons.
So the other day, a Reddit user posted this photo to Reddit. It's of his apartment at night. He had been complaining of hearing rustling noises in his apartment over the last couple nights. Many users thought they could kind of see something in this area of his kitchen, but I couldn't, so I looked at the brightened version. This is the photo brightened. And I know what you're going to say, yes, it does look like Keanu Reeves, but look at how tall he is compared to the fridge. But it gets so much worse. This is a video he took of his apartment at night where you can see something happen to the light in the kitchen. But let's look at the brightened version.
see movement. I see that?
Yes, it's terrifying. But is it a ghost?
Is that ghost or is that the edit?
Can someone tell me what this is? Did this man find a dragon?
I'm gonna have to call edit on that one. Sure looks real though.
Is the Loch Ness Monster real?
I think these are edits. Or some AI mixed with them.
Surprising facts about sleep.
Yeah, I don't know about those.
1 in 3 people don't get enough sleep at night. Your body temperature naturally drops 1 to 2 Fahrenheit when you sleep. 60% of people struggle to sleep due to overheating. But what if your mattress is the thing that's causing you to overheat at night? I had this problem, but recently I switched my mattress to the Emelux cooling mattress. I've been testing it out, and let me tell you, my sleep is much better. With its thermosync technology, the mattress keeps your body temperature balanced all night long, so you don't have to wake up in a sweat any longer. Plus, it offers full body pressure relief, so whether you sleep on your back or on your side, you'll wake up feeling refreshed. And if you share your bed, you'll love the motion isolation feature. Partner tossing and turning won't disturb your sleep anymore. So if you're ready to get better sleep, get the Emelux cooling mattress now and always wake up feeling refreshed. Check out the Emma Summer Bank Holiday now. Get up to 40% off and an extra 5% with my code LeonsFacts. But hurry, click the link because the offer ends soon.
I have to check that out, man. I have noticed that, like, when it's hot at night, man, it's way harder to fall asleep compared to when it's cooler. I could just fall asleep like that.
So this man in this photo is a serial unaliver, and he basically was freed from prison because of old age. Now, according to what I looked into, he unalived around at least 19 people in the 70s and the 60s. Tourists that traveled to Southeast Asia, he would basically unalive them, mainly women. He was called the bikini unaliver because that's usually what they were wearing when he would unalive them. Well, they actually, they finally caught him. He served 19 years in prison.
19?
And then he was released because of old age. So basically they said that he seemed like he was too old to do any kind of crimes again since he's in his 70s, and they went ahead and released him. Now he's sitting here on this plane next to this woman, and she's probably just like, why are you guys sitting next to a serial unaliver? But yeah, since when do people release people because of old age? It doesn't matter how old you are. You can rot in prison, in a prison cell, after unaliving people. And who says he can't do it again?
Just what I was about to say. Read my mind.
This shows all the conspiracies in the world, from the most well-known ones to the darkest of the dark. And as I'm sure you know, in this series we're going from the top to the bottom, so let's go. This is wild and will have you thinking for a long, long time. So it's scientifically proven that after death there is around 7 or 8 minutes of brain activity remaining. And a recent study has just been done which could suggest this happens for hours. Along with this, there's been the theory for years that life flashes before your eyes when you die. So here's the theory, and this is scary. So time is distorted when you're in dreams, right? Like a dream may actually only be about a minute, but feels to you when you're in it like an hour or 2 hours, even longer. So when you die, your life does flash before your eyes. You'll relive all your memories in real time in that 7 or 8 minutes, but it actually feels to you like your entire life. So what if we are all dead, laying in a hospital now or whatever, and our life is flashing before our eyes right now, and we're reliving all of our memories? Obviously there's things like, how the hell am I filming this video then? But, I mean, it's pretty scary to think about. Yeah, that follow up is going to get even crazier.
That's something to freaking ponder about. Because with the way we experience dreams, like you said, it may seem, like I said, to us it's like hours or lifetimes, but it's really a couple of minutes. I never really thought about it like that before, Sheikies. Interesting theory.
I would have peed myself if I saw this. So Sale was a paper delivery boy years ago, and what he saw on his route is terrifying. Before we dive in, if you love ghost stories, make sure you check out my podcast. This week's episode is all ghost stories from listeners. So when Sale was a paper delivery boy, he always delivered to this one house in his neighborhood where an old woman lived. She was not in great health, so she actually had given him a key so he could let himself in and leave the paper on the table. One day he lets himself in the middle of the day, and he sees that she's in her room lying in her bed fully asleep. This is not normal for her, so he calls to her, but she doesn't answer. So he puts the paper on the table and he just heads out. But the next day is the same exact thing. He comes into her house and she's asleep in her room, not moving and not answering. So he's like, okay, if I come back tomorrow and it's the same thing, I'm going to call for help. Except the next day when he arrives, she greets him at the door. And she's saying things like, thank you so much for delivering my paper. I loved seeing you around. I'm gonna miss you. And he's like, okay, that's kind of weird. So the next day he comes back to deliver the paper and there's cars all outside. So Sale runs up to a police officer and is like, what's going on? And the police calmly explains that the woman in the house had passed away days prior and a neighbor finally noticed and called it in. So then who did Sale see when he went to the house?
What the hell was he talking to?
Most common zodiac signs amongst different types of people. Billionaires, Leo. Serial killers, Pisces. Famous people, Aries. Major CEOs, Capricorns. Psychopaths, Scorpios.
It said Leo, billionaires? Hey man, I must be on the right path or something.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. There is probably a Greenland shark out there that was alive when Henry VIII was crowned king. The Great Pyramids were further away to the Romans than the Romans are to us now. Rome is 2,500 years older than Italy itself. Italy only became a country in 1861. The last guillotine took place in France at the same time Star Wars came out in 1977. Sharks are actually older than trees, roughly 350 million years old. George Washington never knew dinosaurs existed. He died before they were discovered. This tree right here was fully matured when the Great Pyramids were under construction.
Things you never knew your body was capable of. Your brain can hold 25 million gigabytes of information. Your bones are 5 times stronger than steel. Human bodies glow in the dark, your eyes just can't detect it. You become 35% stronger when you have an adrenaline. 50% of your grip strength comes from your pinky finger.
Breaking news, Bella Brave has been put into a medically induced coma and they do not believe she is going to make it. Many of you may recognize her from being a star on this app. You may also know her as Bella Brave. Now, as of July 10th, her mother has posted that she has been medically induced in a coma. She said, quote, they've told us they don't know if she'll survive this. I know she will. I know she has an army praying for her. Her mother shared that Bella had developed an infection in her lungs and also may have developed a form of bronchitis. Doctors say the type of bronchitis that she developed is, quote, irreversible and a chronic condition. It is also known as popcorn lung. On July 9th, her mother posted that although Bella was, quote, sitting up, she began to struggle. She went on to say, quote, she lost 4 pounds in one day, putting all her energy into breathing. Her CO2 started to increase and she started to doze off and have delirium. She was alert enough to tell me she turned into a piece of bread, and she also knew that she was at the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. She continued by saying they knew at that point they needed to sedate her and intubate her before she crashed. We left having them tell us they didn't know if she'll make it through the night, but she did. However, the following day, her mother said that she was placed into a medically induced coma. The best of the best were telling us it looked really bad. But I kept lifted stare, intensely listening until I heard what hope there was left that we could hang on to. She has also shared that Bella was put on a large dose of steroids. She said this is the one option they have left to help her lungs work again. Day 3 will give us more information on how soon we could see her lung function improve. She's stable, and that in itself is an improvement from now. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. Prayers for Bella, and I'll keep you guys updated. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
Did you know there's just a ghost ship out there floating around the ocean filled with rats? And I mean, the ocean itself is terrifying enough. I could do many videos on weird things in the ocean. But let's start with this one, because it's not just a few rats on a ship. It's rat infested, apparently. And those rats eat each other, and people are worried that if they run into the ship, it might eat them too. So the ship behind me is called the Lubov Orlova, and if I butchered that, I'm sorry, I don't speak Russian. And it was, as you can see, a fully functional ship up until 2006, when so much debts were collected that it had to be docked. And it was docked for 2 years. And that's where the rat thing comes in. So after 2 years of just sitting there, which was prime time for anything to sneak on board, especially rats, people decided that they were going to scrap it. So they took it to scrap it, but then the line that they were towing it with, or whatever the like nautical term of that is, broke. And it floated for a while. But it was still in the Canada area where it had been docked. Now, Canada decides they're going to grab the ship, and they were going to scrap it. But for whatever reason, when they did finally get this escaped, unused ship, they went into international waters and just let it loose to go wherever it might go.
Why?
Nobody really knows why they did it. They just decided to. And that's when this ship became a ghost ship, because people didn't know where it was after that. Then fast forward to 2013. Somebody spots the ship closer around the area of like the UK and Ireland, and that's when they say there's a ton of rats on board. Now, this hasn't been completely confirmed, but that's when this rat story starts. After that first sighting of where the ship finally ended up with, people start pouring in more sightings, saying that this ghost ship is floating around, is heading towards Ireland, and it's filled with rats. Rats that eat each other and are potentially dangerous to other people. So the most chilling thing, in my opinion, about this whole ghost ship filled with rats is that there's at least one story out there of somebody who found this ship, sent a distress signal, and they then themselves went missing. So what happened to them? Did the rats get them? Because that's just, ugh, I hate that. Anyways, in around 2015-ish, 2014, maybe a little earlier, people were very concerned that this ship was going to find its way floating into Ireland and release all of these horrible, horrible rats. And that was a concern for a while, and at my understanding, it still kind of is, but it's been like 10 years since then, so I don't know if that's still something people are panicking about, but what do you guys think about this ghost ship?
This pedophile committed a crime so disturbing that a petition was created that asked the government to publicly hang him. And the petition gathered thousands of signatures. This is 33-year-old Benjamin Taylor from West Virginia. And in 2016, he would commit one of the most sickening crimes I've ever read about. Back in 2016, Benjamin was living with his girlfriend, a woman named Amanda Adkins. At the time, Amanda had recently given birth only 9 months ago to her baby daughter, Emily. Emily was a beautiful young girl. And I want to warn you all right now, the details that we're about to discuss are some of the most disturbing I've ever covered. So in October of 2016, Benjamin had only been living with his girlfriend Amanda for about a month. And on the morning of Emily's death at around 4:30 a.m., Amanda woke up and went downstairs to search for her baby. When she went downstairs, she saw Benjamin Taylor with his pants unzipped sitting in the dark. Amanda then noticed that her 9-month-old daughter's limp body was lying nearby on a pile of sheets and laundry. Amanda screamed at Benjamin and grabbed her daughter's lifeless body, but he remained silent and stared at the ground. The details of what had just happened down there are disturbing. Local authorities would call this the worst assault that they had seen in decades. You see, Benjamin and Emily were covered in the infant's blood. After the child's body was examined, the authorities were able to determine that she had been assaulted by an adult male multiple times. The infant child was also bleeding extensively and had suffered head trauma. Emily had a fractured skull and brain hemorrhaging. Authorities believe that Emily may have been shaken violently, or even thrown to the ground or slammed against a hard object. When police arrived at the scene, Benjamin Taylor was observed trying to wipe something off of his groin. That was eventually determined to be Emily's blood. He also told authorities that he remembered taking the baby to the basement, but that he blacked out after that. You see, he had been smoking and drinking the night before, and that was his excuse. Thankfully, Benjamin was convicted of all charges and sentenced to life in prison without mercy, as you can see right here. But for some people, that just wasn't enough. And like I said at the beginning of this video, a petition was created which asked the government to publicly hang Benjamin. And this petition, before it was shut down, gathered over 50,000 signatures. I mean, this truly is one of the worst things that I've ever covered here on my TikTok. And personally, I don't think that life in prison is enough for this guy. I mean, the pain that poor Emily went through before she was eventually killed is just heartbreaking on every single level. And I just hope and pray that the other prisoners that are in there with Benjamin find out or already have found out exactly what he did to land himself in there. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife, Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
This is the most dangerous apple in the world. So dangerous that its name in Spanish is Manzanilla de la Muerte, which translates to Little Apple of Death. This is the manchineal tree, and it's widely considered to be the most toxic tree on the planet. And it's all because of a milky white sap coated in toxins that can cause the skin to blister on impact. And this sap is found in every part of the tree. The leaves, the fruit, the bark, every aspect of this tree has the ability to decrease your quality of life. It's so toxic that if you don't even touch it but stand under the tree while it's raining, all it takes are a couple raindrops with white sap to burn your skin. And speaking of burning, if you torch your tree and try to return shipment to Satan, the smoke can irritate the eyes to the point of temporary blindness. And you can probably imagine what would happen if you inhale it. The fruit might just be the worst part. In 1999, radiologist Nicola Strickland unknowingly ate the apple, and while she didn't retire from breathing, she came really close. The burning sensation and painful tightening of the throat nearly made her suffocate off rip. The pain lasted over 8 hours, and she eventually had to get the lymph nodes in her neck drained. And if you happen to find one in your Florida backyard, yeah, you can find them in Florida. Y'all are hell with no income tax. You can't cut them down, because they're in danger. You'd be like suplexing a panda. And since they help prevent beach erosion and protect mangroves, if you got rid of all of them, Florida just might go underwater. The more you know.
Don't eat apples in Florida, man. Confirmed. What the hell? Damn. That's
actually twice as likely to kill you than a shark is.
How?
France was still executing people via guillotine when the first Star Wars film came out. There are more fake flamingos in the world than real ones. There are more tigers in Texas than the rest of the world. There's enough iron in your body to make a 3-inch nail. Beethoven and George Washington were alive at the same time. In fact, George Washington was in his 40s when Beethoven was born. There are more stars in space than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. It rains diamonds on Saturn and Jupiter. A buttload is an actual unit of measurement, equivalent to 126 gallons. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
I think the thing that's most shocking to me is that there's a lot of freaking tigers in Texas, bro. I just instantly thought of that meme. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? What the hell's going on in Texas, man? They got a freaking tiger epidemic. You gotta be careful.
Bone-chilling facts you wish you never knew. Part 4. Cannibals find the palm of the hand the tastiest. There is a lake that never gives up the dead. The bottom of the Lake Superior is cold enough that the dead bodies just remain, so they don't become skeletons and they are pretty creepy. In 1975, the CIA had a heart attack gun. It's a weapon that shoots a small poisonous dart which causes a heart attack. It can penetrate clothes and leave nothing but a red dot. Just imagine what they could be hiding now.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 17. There's an 8-year-old boy named Amarjit Sada who became the world's youngest serial killer after murdering his 6-year-old cousin, his baby sister, and a neighbor's newborn daughter. The CIA has a legitimate heart attack gun, and it was exposed to the public in the late 1970s. Project Sunshine was research conducted by the US government in which after the atomic bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a network of agents was recruited to locate recently deceased children and steal their body parts for testing on radiation. Both the US and Russia used dolphins and whales to spy on various countries. The FBI sent an anonymous letter to Martin Luther King Jr. telling him to kill himself. It reads, "King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is." Guys, I just released my first YouTube video. I'm sure you'll love it. Link in bio.
Now don't be fooled by this photo, because this story is called The Demon Dog. For the short term they knew him, they called him Shanks. So if you haven't guessed it yet, Shanks is an American pit bull. But ever since Mark found Shanks, there was just something off. See, Shanks was fit, tough, and a very strong looking dog. But when you looked into his eyes, there was something evil that wanted to get out. But Shanks was a stray. He was found covered in blood months ago. The vet said that it was blood from a carcass or something that he had eaten to try and survive. But after we saw Shanks attack Robin Woolman while she was hanging out her washing, we knew it wasn't for survival. You see, Robin was 8 months pregnant when Shanks hunted her down and attacked her. Police said that they couldn't even recognize her once he'd finished ripping her apart. And unfortunately, neither her or her unborn baby survived. Since he ran away that day, 3 of his past owners have stepped forward, all with gruesome stories about Shanks. And all have refused to describe to police what he looks like, because he still stalks.
Shanks. Yeah, that does sound like the demon dog, man. Sometimes, you know, it's the environment. Those dogs that come up and they become violent. So, what did he experience that made him turn into that, man? Whew.
One of the world's scariest animals just got a whole lot scarier. And Planet of the Apes is slowly becoming non-fiction. Because apparently chimpanzees are out here murking gorillas. Scientists in 2021 witnessed a troop of chimpanzees basically jumping a family of gorillas. And when I say gang, we're talking about almost 30 chimps pressing a family of 5. Keep in mind a silverback can weigh up to 400 pounds and could probably bench press your car. And according to witnesses, the silverback was eating chimps left and right like they were paper mache. But eventually the chimps overwhelmed the bigger silverback and even kidnapped a baby gorilla. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they did, but that family of 5 became a party of 4. And it wasn't even the last time. Because later that year, scientists watched the same group of chimpanzees do the same exact thing. Square up with a family of gorillas, kidnap the baby, and erase its name from the gorilla census. And it's not like we didn't know chimps were about that. They often hunt bush babies and vervet monkeys, and we've even seen them use weapons like spears to do it. But it's one thing to hunt something that weighs like 5 Skittles. Going gorillas is another tier of Black Air Force activity.
Yes, it
Which
is.
is why I'd rather be locked in a room with a jaguar than a chimp. Because at least a jaguar gonna make it quick.
Really? Jaguar or chimp, man? What'd y'all choose?
Disney World facts and incidents that are a lot darker than you could imagine. And if you guys are loving Creep Time and you want even more content, make sure to check out my Instagram right in the bio. Disney World is known for quite a few high-profile deaths, most of which they have done a great job of covering up. But none quite as quickly as when an off-duty cast member accidentally fell to his death off Disney's contemporary resort onto the monorail. Within just 3 hours, Disney had completely cleaned it up and just resumed operations. In 1981, a case went to court when parents claimed that an actor at the park who played Winnie the Pooh had slapped their daughter. But this cast member insisted that this was just a case of turning around and accidentally knocking a little girl over, and actually proved this to a jury in court by repeating the incident while dressed in costume. In the early 70s, at an attraction known as the Carousel of Progress, in which the stage rotates a full 360, the attendant who was 18 was crushed between the stage and the wall. Even more chilling, there is an audio recording that exists of this exact incident.
I think the thing that got to me is when they said, like, Disney, they just freaking, the monorail fell, they just freaking cleaned that up. He said 3 hours and they just resumed the day, acting like everything was normal, man. One of the biggest corporations in the world, and you know, they can't let that money flow stop. But not even a day, or even a couple of hours, they just, like it was just a regular day, man. That's scary.
Things that bother you, they never bother me. I happy and fine. Living in the sunlight, laughing in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, laughing in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
How the hell do people not see those in those photos, man, when they taking the pictures?
Survive until sunrise in the real Conjuring house. Say hello to Annabelle. Go in the basement, alone. Visit the bent neck lady. Say hello to Father John. Watch out for Valak. What was that? A haunted well. Seance with me. Snakes.
What the hell? I couldn't survive that for a day. Nope. I don't even need to be around that energy. I got it. Go do this. Are some brave shows who can survive in that house for a whole day. It's an edit, man.
Frank Selak, known as the luckiest unlucky man that has lived, seemed to have a superpower of surviving everything life and death threw at him. In January 1962, Frank boarded a train that was suddenly derailed. The train plunged into an icy river. While 17 other passengers drowned, Frank survived the fall and swam ashore with a broken arm and hypothermia. A year later, while on his first and only plane ride flying from Zagreb to Rijeka, the back door blasted open, sucking everyone into the sky, killing 19 people. Amazingly, Frank landed on a haystack with only minor scratches. 4 years later, Frank boarded a transport bus. The bus skidded and plunged into a river, sinking all the way down. Yet again, Frank survived the fall and swam to the surface, then to the shore with a few cuts and bruises. In 1970, Frank was driving his car when an engine failure ignited the fuel tank, bursting the car into flames. Frank jumped out of the vehicle just before it exploded. A few years later, the same thing happened with his new car. While his hair was completely singed, Frank otherwise exited the vehicle safely. In 1995, he was hit by a city bus and then again by a truck. He survived that freak accident too. In 1996, he was involved in a head-on collision on a mountain curve. Frank was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected out of the car, clinging to a tree branch as he watched his vehicle fall 300 feet. 2 days after his 73rd birthday, Frank won the lottery for $1.1 million. At the time of his win, he also married for the 5th time.
These are facts that...
I'm good, but he got a happy ending, bro, because it just seemed like life was just throwing this massive curveballs at him, man. And he was like doing the Neo Matrix joint, just dodging them, bro. And he finally got a win, man. Could you imagine, like, this freaking event after event after event? I wouldn't even want to freaking leave the damn house. They safe for him. At least he got the 1 meal, man, so I'm happy for him. He needed that.
Skin Crawl, Part 1. Up first, did you know that women can actually give birth after death? It's extremely rare, but it's called coffin birth. Up next, everybody has definitely heard of the 5-second rule and probably applied it in your life at least once. But did you know in those 5 seconds, minor insects can still crawl on your food after you drop it on the floor, pick it up, and then eat it? Up next, if a black cat looks at you and then suddenly runs away, it means that something unusual is about to happen to you. So if this happened to you recently, then I recommend just staying in your room and not leaving. Finally, did you know that a cockroach can live 9 days without its head before it starves to death? This is absolutely crazy, and as weird as this sounds, I have to see it to believe it.
Me too. 9 days without his head?
Most dangerous tourist spots, Part 1.
Alright.
Devil's Pool. This pool takes you inches from the 350-foot waterfall. It is located at Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. Getting to the pool is hard. You have to fight the strong current of the river. And there are also hippos and crocodiles that lurk in the river. Tourists are only allowed to go to Devil's Pool between August and January because for the rest of the year, the strong currents make it impossible to survive.
I've seen the people post for pictures. I would never
Story
do
facts, Part 1. After losing her newborn baby, a 24-year-old mom named Ashley Hammock decided to add a sandbox to her grave so that her older son could still play with him. It wasn't until 1914 that it became illegal to mail children. In 2008, a Brazil priest would decide to strap 1,000 balloons to his lawn chair and take off. It wasn't until months later that the lower part of his body would be found floating in the ocean.
The lower part? What happened?
Scariest interviews with serial killers. Serial killer John Hughes. John Hughes was convicted of 15 murders and sentenced to life in prison in 2010. When he was interviewed and asked if he would kill again, he said this.
Because you'd kill again.
More than positive. I got different thoughts. Then he was asked if he felt bad for the murders he had committed, and this is what he said.
You don't feel bad about killing anyone?
Not personally, that I've personally done myself, no.
Why?
Wrong place, wrong time. Follow for more.
People with no remorse, man. One of the most dangerous people alive. We just witnessed that firsthand. He had no remorse. Just said wrong place, wrong. Nah. That's an edit, man.
They had to yell at the actors to stop eating the crap in between takes of the human centipede because the prop masters made it taste so good. It was a mixture of coconut oil and chocolate. A very large number of actresses actually walked out of the audition the second they saw these drawings. The only way the director was able to get investors in on the movie was to be a little deceitful about what was actually happening. He told investors it was about 3 people being surgically connected together, but he didn't say how they were being connected. The movie makes it seem like this house is in the middle of nowhere, but in reality, this house was just in a regular neighborhood. And during the the feeding scene of the human centipede, many neighbors were actually peeking over the fences and were completely disgusted by what they saw. The actors were given hardened silicone underwear with rubber bits to bite on. That way it actually looked like they were connected to each other's butts. Dieter Laser, rest in peace, the man who played the crazy scientist in the human centipede, insisted on being naked for the pool scene. The actresses thought this was really sweet and an act of solidarity because they had to be naked themselves for 90% of the movie. But Dieter Laser said he wanted to be nude because he is a method actor, and this doctor would see the human centipede as nothing more than a pet, and you wouldn't blush at being naked in front of your pet. All of the actors who were involved in the human centipede got massages at the end of every film day for having to be on their knees all day long.
Terrifying facts you never knew.
I never watched that movie.
Right now, and some of you have up to 10 million on your mattress, but you have no clue. You see, they love dead skin and warm bedding, making your bed the perfect home to start a huge family. Cavities are contagious and can be spread by kissing or sharing food. Speaking of food, I have a mud pie. Oh, yeah, baby. And don't get me started about these Reuben balls. Ooh. Now this tastes like your mama's booty. This is how fast the Titan submarine got crushed. It takes our brains 100 milliseconds to process pain. It takes our eyes 13 milliseconds to process visually. When the Titan submarine imploded, the pressure was so great, it got crushed in 1 millisecond, meaning they didn't feel or see a thing. It was just lights out. Again, your mama's booty. Sometimes an Amber Alert caused the kidnapper to panic and kill the child immediately. A woman named Jules Sherpin wanted to be blind ever since she was the age of 6. She felt her life wouldn't be complete unless she was actually blind. So in 2006, she poured drain cleaner in her eye, blinding herself permanently. And now she says she's happier than ever. There's a new device in South Africa called Rapex. It's a tube with sharp barbs inside. Women insert this like a tampon, and let's just say anyone who ever tries an unconsensual act will be in a world of pain and have to go to the ER. A man from Queens spent 5 years in jail, not knowing that his bail was only $2.
What?
If you ever donated blood, that blood can be in somebody else's boner right now. Something to think about. The reason you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough isn't because of the raw egg. It's because you shouldn't eat the raw flour, which contains fecal matter from all the birds flying all over the field and pooping on the wheat. In 2006, Robert Turnery, a 5-year-old, called 911 after his mother collapsed. The operator hung up on him after asking to speak to an adult because she thought it was a prank. 3 hours later, he called again. The operator said, "Stop prank calling," and hung up. They then sent the police to his house to yell at him. When they got there, they found that his mother had died from a heart attack. In 2016, 11-year-old Elizabeth Gilreed went on an amusement park ride to have fun. Her hair then became caught, causing her to be scalped. The Iron Maiden was a horrible torture device, but it didn't kill you. People would be placed in there and the spikes would go through every part of their body, even their eyes. But the spikes weren't deep enough to kill you, so you would just stand in there, suffering. Should I do a part 5?
Today I'll be telling you about the youngest murderers, starting off with Nevada Tan. Nevada Tan is the nickname of an 11-year-old girl who murdered her classmate. Her real identity is kept a secret. She had some sort of disagreement with a girl in her class, so during lunch break she brought the girl into an empty room and cut her throat with a knife. Afterwards, she went back to her classroom covered in bloodstains. Her classmates flew into a panic and her teacher called the police. She was arrested, and when the police asked her why she had done such a horrible thing, Nevada Tan said that the dead girl had posted messages on her website saying she was overweight and calling her a goody two-shoes. According to reports, Nevada Tan's website was based on the Japanese urban legend, the Red Room. Nevada Tan was sent to prison. She was probably released in 2013. Next, we have Jasmine Richardson. Jasmine was a normal 12-year-old girl from Albert, Canada. She got involved with goth scene, started dressing in black and wearing garnish makeup. On the internet, Jasmine used the nickname Runaway Devil, and her profile said, "Welcome to my tragic end." She became an out-of-control tween, sneaking out, going to rock concerts without her parents' knowledge. She also had a boyfriend who was 23 years old. He often told people he was a 300-year-old werewolf. When her parents found out what she had been doing, they grounded her and forbid her from singing. She was really angry, so she convinced her boyfriend to come over and kill her parents. One night, while her parents were asleep, she let her boyfriend in the house. He stabbed her parents to death while she murdered her 8-year-old brother. Afterwards, they tried to flee, but the police found them. Jasmine was found guilty and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Her boyfriend was given 3 life sentences. Since then, Jasmine has been released and has expressed remorse for her crimes. Lastly, we have Robert Thompson and John Venables. Robert and John were both 10 years old. One morning, they decided to ditch school and go to a shopping center. They got bored and decided to kidnap a little boy named James Bulger. They brought him into a deserted area where they threw bricks at him. Part 2 is already up.
They that young, man, making freaking bad decisions like that.
Go home when the sun's gone. There's improvement.
Let's see, move your mouth around a little bit, like
I feel like
smile, maybe.
Good. That's an edit for sure.
You guys don't need to move a lot. Maybe just here.
Yeah. I think that's all we did last time.
Yeah.
Barely even like the chin and the upper lip.
Just around here.
Is that for a movie or something?
You didn't know about. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house. Brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. Stuck in the middle of a cold place. You will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Had your leg torn off by a bear. Here's adrenaline. So you can save your brain even if there's a huge risk of infection or further injury. You and your brain work together most of the time, but when push comes to shove, you are sacrificed.
Survival of the fittest, even for your brain, bro.
Normal looking photos with a disturbing backstory. This photo might just look like a girl scribbling on a blackboard, but it was actually taken in a school for emotionally disturbed children in Poland. This girl's name is Tereska and she grew up in a concentration camp. But what's even more disturbing about this photo is that the assignment was to draw what home looks like. And while all the other students drew pictures of houses, this is what Tereska drew. Now this might look like any other high school photo until you look closer. You'll see these boys in the very back suggestively pointing at the camera. Their names are Eric and Dylan, and just a few weeks after this photo was taken, they unalived 12 students and 1 teacher in the Columbine shooting.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If you ask someone to do a small favor, their subconscious mind will register that they like you because they're doing a favor for you. Showing the palms of your hands while talking to someone subconsciously communicates that you have nothing to hide and you can be trusted. Whenever you are introducing a new idea to someone, if you lead with the words, "This might not be for you, but," it naturally engages the person's interest and makes it feel like it probably is for them.
Really?
If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day you'll see this item out of place and it will remind you of what you associated it with. If you are procrastinating right now, stop telling yourself that you have loads of work to do. Instead, just tell yourself you only have to work for 5 minutes. You'll most likely continue to work even after 5 minutes. People who are lying normally blink more than usual, hide the palms of their hands, mess with their hair or appearance, and use either abnormally long or short sentences. Follow for more.
Really? Those tales, man, you gotta pay attention to them.
Worst ways people have been unalived. Part 5. The woman who was embalmed alive. This is 28-year-old Ekaterina Fudieva from Russia. She had recently been diagnosed with ovarian cysts and wanted to have them removed, so on March 15th of 2018, she went in for surgery. The very routine operation went just as planned. This is when the fatal mistake comes in. Instead of her being administered a saline drop, she was given formaldehyde. If you don't know, formaldehyde is something morticians typically use to preserve and keep a body as fresh as they can. The staff tried flushing her body with water, but to no avail. The chemical started to attack her body. For over 12 hours, her organs started to fail and shut down. She remained unconscious for 3 weeks, all while being hooked up to machines to try and keep her organs from failing, but she soon passed.
Embalmed alive? That's one of the most craziest things we've heard yet. That might be an edit, man. If you guys see any edits, like I said, call them out.
These are human body parts that may disappear in the future. First up is body hair. Originally, it protected ancient humans from harsh weather conditions. However, over time, with modern clothes and changes in environmental conditions, human body hair has significantly decreased and continues to do so. Many scientists believe it might eventually completely disappear. Next are wisdom teeth. They used to serve an evolutionary purpose for ancient humans who had much rougher diets and needed more chewing power. But our diets have softened and our jaws have become increasingly smaller. As a result, they have no space to properly grow in, and many people need to have them surgically removed.
Yep.
Many babies are now being born without wisdom teeth, and scientists believe this will eventually be the standard. Finally, we have male nipples. Everyone starts as female in the womb, and before the Y chromosome kicks in for males, nipples have already formed. When the baby becomes male, the prolactin levels decrease, making the male nipples non-functional. So while it's debated, some scientists think they'll disappear.
Creepy fact you probably don't know.
Nipples will disappear? What the hell?
At one time, doctors thought that babies didn't feel pain. It took up until 1987 for the American Academy of Pediatrics to declare that it was unethical to operate on babies without anesthesia. So that means for years, babies were forced to just sit there and suffer through surgery without any form of pain control or anesthetics. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
Here's some random
Yes,
facts
it
that
is.
will mess with the way you see the world. Astronaut means star sailor. Astro meaning star and not meaning sailor.
Ooh.
That is such a cool name. High heels were originally made for butchers so they wouldn't get blood on the bottom of their shoes. The first ever webcam was created to check on a coffee pot just to make sure it didn't catch on fire. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. You need at least 2 or more. I think it's because they get depressed if they're alone. I'm not even joking. Australia is wider than the moon. How does that work? The Eiffel Tower is taller in the summer. This is because metal expands when it gets hot, right? A jiffy is an actual unit of time. It's 1/1000th of a second. In Japan, there's over 200 flavors of Kit Kats. I didn't know that there were 200 flavors, period. Queen Elizabeth was a trained mechanic in the military. That's a baller move, though. Become a mechanic and then a queen. Do you know the only letter that doesn't appear in a U.S. state name? I'll give you 3 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Q.
The letter Q.
Weird ass facts that I know for some reason. If you're allergic to eating shrimp, then you also can't eat cicadas. Male hedgehogs, pleasure themselves the same way that us guys do. So be careful when you pick one up, because that white stuff on their feet is not mayonnaise. Saddam Hussein actually wrote a romantic novel. Platypuses don't have nipples, so they literally just sweat milk. Ducks will have sex with literally anything. Literally anything. Literally anything. On average, cannibals find palms to be the tastiest. Crocodiles gallop, just like a horse does. The thought of this is really scary though, not gonna lie.
There is something sinister that's occurred in the heart of
Galloping?
An 8-year-old girl has completely vanished in or near the lake, which of course has left her family and loved ones completely devastated. This place is nestled within a remote and desolate swamp. Caddo Lake is shrouded in mystery. It's dark trees, murky waters, and there are countless hidden spots that would make it perfect for someone to disappear. As the search for Anna continues, there has been a startling discovery. There are secrets buried deep within this eerie lake, far more than I think anybody could have imagined. Now, this chilling premise is the basis for the latest suspense and mystery film, produced by M. Night Shyamalan, premiering on Max Thursday, October 10th. Don't miss the stars Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon as they unravel the terrifying secrets hidden beneath the surface, only on Max.
Okay, well, wait. Should we check it out, man? See, because like I said, you guys know I'm not into scary movies, but thrillers and things, I'll check those out.
Truths about fears. You are not afraid of the dark.
I ain't.
You are afraid of what may be there.
That actually makes sense. If you really think about it, because I'm just starting to put two and two together. Like I said, obviously I'm not afraid of being in a dark room or something like that, or like I said, being outside when it's really dark. But you just don't, when it's dark, you don't know, you can't see, so you don't know what's actually there. So that actually makes sense. You're scared of the things that could be in the dark, and not actually scared of the darkness itself. Well, some people actually could be scared of both, but I think I fall into that category, bro. Expanding my thoughts for seekers.
The darkest conspiracies in the world. The Mandela effect. A theory that suggests that our current reality has somehow been shifted into an alternate universe. Such evidence includes things like the Berenstain Bears being Berenstain Bears, fruit of the loom, with and without the cornucopia. Even the memory of Mandela dying in prison back in the 1980s versus 2013. Supposedly created by the CIA as a psyops. Are we really in an alternate reality? Hit the plus sign if you think so.
Hit that thumbs up button if you think we're in an
There are some
alternate
of the most
reality.
random animals people have been killed by. In July 2013, a Brazilian man was asleep in bed when a cow fell through his roof right on top of him. The 3,000-pound animal had been grazing when it stepped on a thinly corrugated roof and fell and suplexed the man whose only crime was sleeping on the wrong side of the bed. The man seemed okay and went to the hospital, but then died of internal bleeding before even seeing a doctor. In the water, it isn't the sharks you have to worry about. It's the needlefish, because they'll yeet themselves out of the water at 37 miles per hour. Getting vibe checked by a fish fast enough to get a speeding ticket is one creative way to get put in a Twitter bio. One Indonesian woman tragically got pierced right above the eye, and even though she was rushed to the hospital, she flatlined a few hours later. One needlefish managed to stab a 10-year-old boy through the eye and into his brain, killing him almost instantly. Peacocks are low-key ops. A man in Thailand was minding his own business when out of nowhere his pet peacock mauled him, slashing at him with his claws. This velociraptor in drag managed to put this man in a coma. By the time he reached the hospital, they discovered there was a small blood clot in his brain. And he never woke up, so next time you see a peacock roaming a zoo unsupervised, just remember what they're capable of.
This horror game changes the appearance of the monsters based on your personality, and it's a Silent Hill game. In Silent Hill Shattered Memories, there is only one monster. It's called Raw Shock, and it can actually change its appearance based on what you do in the game. The game actually pays attention to what your character does and looks at while exploring in the overworld. Yes, you heard that right, what you look at in the game. One example is if you spend a lot of time looking at things like beer bottles, the monster will actually appear to look diseased. Levels are broken up by psychiatric evaluations that also change certain aspects of the game. These can lock you into certain playstyles that affect both the ending and the way the monsters look. It's one of the most underrated horror games I have ever played, and maybe one day we'll do a video talking about the ending.
Silent Hill, they just made the Silent Hill 2 remake just came out.
Three movies that are even more disturbing than Human Centipede. Just when you thought you've seen it all, I'm here to bring you the worst of the worst. We're gonna go from the least to the most disturbing.
Okay.
So in third place, we have The Sadness. This is a Taiwanese horror movie about a virus that makes people act out their darkest thoughts. So imagine the most twisted things you could ever think of, then imagine if you couldn't control yourself and needed to act on them. This movie gets very dark very quickly. In second place, we have Serbian Film. Yes, that means there's one more movie that I think is even more disturbing than Serbian Film, but just wait for it. Serbian Film is about a kind of actor who gets tricked into performing very intense things. Just to give you an idea of how disturbing this movie gets, it's in over 40 countries. And in first place, this is the most disturbing movie I've ever watched in my life. Trauma is a 2017 Chilean horror movie. The first 5 minutes of this movie is more disturbing than all 3 of the Human Centipede movies combined. And basically, it's about the son of and it shows how his father prepares him for that job. Then there's a time jump and we see a group of women on vacation and they run into him. If you like disturbing movies, then follow for more.
These are the scariest planets ever found, part 3.
Up first is 51 Pegasi b. This planet is mainly made up of hydrogen and helium, and the temperature on this planet is over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This planet is so hot that the iron on this planet gets vaporized and then forms iron vapor clouds. These clouds will then produce molten iron rain, which just sounds completely brutal. Next up is Korat XL 3b. The degree of pressure put on a human being walking on this planet would be completely insane. A human on this planet would weigh almost 50 times heavier than they would on Earth. That means that a 180-pound man on this planet would weigh more than 9,000 pounds. The amount of stress would crush a human being's skeletal system instantly.
And yeah, they keep talking about how they want us to expand to different planets. That's proof right there, bro. We don't know what we getting ourselves into. We getting freaking iron rain. Your skull, freaking system's gonna get crushed instantly. I vote we stay here on Earth. What do you guys say?
The world's most dangerous conspiracy theories. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking some from each category until we reach tier 10, the point of no return. Tier 10 is so scary that people are saying I'm literally going to die before I even reach tier 10. So make sure to follow to see the journey. Okay, so tier 3. This is the point of no return. Today we're going to be talking about the Denver Airport. The Denver International Airport is located in Denver, Colorado. Before we get to the conspiracies, let's go over the facts. During the process of building this airport, they apparently went over budget by $2 billion, and supposedly even more than that. They were also 16 months behind schedule. So now we're going to talk about some of the theories on why they went over a budget of $2 billion and why it took so long to build this airport. One
Break
One
it
of the most
down.
popular theories is that it's an underground facility for the global elite. There's a lot of facts to back this one up, but a construction worker claimed that the reason the delay was so long is because they were moving 5 buildings downstairs. And by downstairs, I mean in this underground tunnel. The second theory is the Mustang statue. This statue is a blue horse on its heels right in the center of the airport. Later, it was given the nickname Lucifer. The reason they call it Lucifer is because of the 4th horseman in the apocalypse in the book of Revelations. And the 4th horseman represents death. A lot of people have taken videos of this horse, and you can literally see red eyes, even though there's no LED lights inside of them. The crazy thing is, the sculptor who built the statue actually was killed by it. The statue fell down, crushing him and splitting one of his arteries, killing him instantly. So maybe the reason for the delay was to hide something sinister. The final theory that most people believe is this is a foundation for the Freemasons. The Freemasons have some of the most powerful people in the world, which leads people to speculate that this is a headquarters for the Illuminati. There is even a statue that says March 19th, 1994, and those numbers equal the number 33, which is the highest level of Freemasonry. And under the date, the commission name is New World, hinting to the New World Order. The New World Order is thought to be a small group of people controlling the entire world under one government, creating total power and total wealth. So, do you think this airport accidentally spent over $2 billion, or were they hiding a much darker secret? Make sure to like and follow because we have a lot more to learn. Also, my YouTube channel is Austin Vro. Tomorrow I'm going to be posting a full version of Tier 4, so that way you guys can watch the entire thing.
Time travel tips, part 3.
Discuss it down below.
Southampton in 1912, and make sure you bring a cloth and a bottle of chloroform. Take 1 month of Morse code classes. Purchase a ticket to cross the Atlantic on the RMS Titanic. At 8:30 p.m. on April 14th, walk into the radio room and sneak up behind the operator. Quickly cover his face with the chloroform cloth, knocking him out. Carefully hide his body, and then send out a distress signal. At 11:40, you'll hear a horrible screeching noise. As the ship begins to fill with water at midnight, the RMS Carpathia will arrive, saving everyone on board before Titanic goes under.
Okay. Follow those damn steps. That's an edit. Call them out, man. Like I said, if you guys see any edits, call them out because I might miss some too.
Dark web videos you were never supposed to see, part 1. The first video we're watching is going to be the Glesgord video. The full video was actually only 2 minutes long, but YouTube removed it after only 153 people watched it. The 153 people who viewed this video apparently gouged their eyes out and sent it to the YouTube headquarters. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who apparently passed out during the first 45 seconds of the video. The person who uploaded the video was never found and there was never an IP address to find him. The crazy part about this video is that 50% of people see that he smiles and the other 50% say he keeps a straight face. So you guys are going to decide.
Shaved face or just smiling. I definitely saw something in the
9/11
eyes.
didn't happen, part 2. Airport security is non-existent. You simply show up and walk to the gate. The US government has invested in a universal healthcare system instead of the Iraq War. Pete Davidson works with his dad as a firefighter in New York City.
These are some unsettling facts that you likely never knew about. Part 4. Most laughing tracks that you hear in movies and TV shows were recorded back in the 50s. So, you're essentially listening to dead people laughing. If the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs had hit 30 seconds later, dinosaurs would still be alive, which likely means that we wouldn't. Studies show that you're 7 times more likely to die by killing yourself rather than somebody killing you. Like and follow for part 5.
On October 30th, 2022, police received a phone call from a woman claiming that her ex-boyfriend was in her family's home and he shouldn't be there due to the fact that she had filed a restraining order against him a week prior. While on the phone with police, dispatchers then heard shots ring out and 4 people were killed by Joseph Castorina. Thankfully, his ex-girlfriend and her 2 children survived, but unfortunately 3 of her family members, as well as 1 man who rented an RV on their property, passed away. Despite fleeing the country, he was found in December 2022, and as of recently, the now 22 22-year-old was charged with 4 life in prison sentences. What are your thoughts?
So about
It's just an evil case.
3 little girls were murdered in a dance class by a teenager, and 10 others were injured. Of course, that teenager was arrested, but official sources never identified who this guy is exactly. There were several protests and riots in the UK across several cities in the country, and there was a mosque that was destroyed and burned down as a form of revenge because of what happened in Southport. About 1 day later, after this incident, the government, the media, and the police have officially identified who the killer is. He's a teenager named Axel Rudakubana from Rwanda. That is a Christian, not a Muslim, a Christian. Are you gonna burn down a church now that you know he's a Christian? Is that the natural response we as people should have? Official sources confirmed who's the person behind this misinformation. And let me tell you, this is how dangerous misinformation can be.
It can be.
It can lead you to do the wrong things. The person behind this misinformation is Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is an anti-Islam activist. Most of the biggest platform he has is on X, Twitter. That was where he tweeted that this guy, the murderer, was a Muslim. And you know, because of his contribution to the misinformation, these riots happened. And innocent people were injured. And a mosque was burned down. I'm not sure if it was one or more than one. To be honest, I don't even know the guy. I just heard of him today. And from an official news site that said Tommy Robinson was the main contributor to the misinformation that led to these riots. People are so gullible in this thing. Really. Like, I mean this with no offense, but you guys are. And it's really bad.
It's power behind words, man. That's why you have to be careful what you say. Like you said, misinformation, it can be a dangerous thing, man. You never know what your words can lead to.
I remember this one story you told
Just for a
about this
damn
guy
party.
who has this kid and he's saying that he sees his wife, but she's actually dead.
She's a jinn.
She's a jinn, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a jinn. So
The story happened in Pakistan.
yeah.
Yeah, some guy married a jinn, yeah.
That story was
This story is messed up. Actually, you might have seen videos on TikTok about this because it was blowing up in Yemen and in some parts of the Arab world. You know, in Yemen there are Houthis. Well, in one of the Houthi bases, one of the Houthi soldiers went out, saw somebody he didn't know. Hey, who are you? He looks at him and runs away. He shoots him. Person dies. He goes, checks the body, person's dead. Goes back to report it to the general or whoever. And I killed the person, I don't know who he is. They go back, the body's not there.
What?
Where's the body? I don't know. No blood, no nothing. I said nothing happened.
chills. Oh my god. Okay.
He killed the jinn. He killed the jinn. He killed the jinn, bro. The next day, same night, a whole court system of jinns possessed this man. There was a judge, jinn world, judge, prosecutor, and the victim's father. The jinn, the father of the jinn that died. All talking, using the guy's voice. And he was obviously having a lot of seizures in between. Saying that, by the way, they were Muslim jinns, so they don't immediately attack. There is a system, there is a law in place, they follow the same Quran, you know? They didn't kill that soldier, but they let him off the hook with a punishment. So either they had to take somebody from his family, life, or they kill him, because that's what the father said. He said, let me kill this man, he killed my son, let me kill him. But the judge refused, and there was something he had to pay as a diya.
What?
And I don't know what it was and how it worked out, but the guy suffered a lot, man.
He killed the jinn. So he killed the jinn. The jinn was the human being?
Yeah, he shapeshifted. Jinns can shapeshift. They're not perfect human being form, but they can shapeshift enough for you to look at them and think they're humans.
So he killed the jinn.
Killed the jinn. And you know, sometimes they say, when you see a lizard, sometimes they say part of the sunnah is to kill it, right? Because it could be a jinn. And if you take the Blizzard's life and it was a jinn, the actual jinn dies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes they
If
were...
I killed the Titara, it's not gonna come after my family.
It can't. That's why there was another story in Qatar of a guy that shot a black cat. It turned out to be a jinn.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I heard that a lot before. They say if you see a black cat, be cautious. Yeah, it might be jinn.
It might be, yeah. Then they went and they say, hey, you tried to kill one of our people. Be careful. You do that one more time, we'll bury your head in another continent and your body in Antarctica. Like, we will separate you in half, like literally.
Damn.
But they can't do that. They really can't. You know?
Those jinns, man. We be seeing some clips about those jinns, so guys believe those theories? Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, make sure you guys comment down below. Hit that thumbs up button. Follow me on my social medias. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.